Hello, YouTube world. Thank you again for stopping in to Beyond the Mortgage. If you've seen our first two videos with Mike and Cheverly, our first video kind of went through Mike's experience in the military and how he chose that path. The second video kind of went over how he learned about the service dog program and how that went through as far as for the training and how he got connected and met up with Cheverly. And in this video, we're going to kind of wrap things up. And we're going to talk about just how things have been going now that he has had Cheverly for a while.
Yeah.
What that process has been like. And so I guess the first question I have is, how has Cheverly helped you with the challenges that you deal with?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So, I mean, in general, things are good, man. I wouldn't change it for the world. It's been a massive life change. You work on it every day. But last year I went to the movies for the first time in a long time.
Was it just too stressful before?
Yeah, because when I go there I can't relax, especially if I have my kids with me. I go there and I found myself before having Cheverly, I only have 3 exits. It's dark. There's so many, I'm scanning the whole movie. What if something goes down? What do I do? How do I get out? How do I get my wife and kids out? And what was the movie? I have no idea what the movie was. And the longer I'm in there, the worse it gets, right? And I always have to have my back to the wall. I have to sit in the very last row.
Right.
I couldn't even tell you what the movie was. Most of the movie I'm just scanning, and every noise I could hear, because I had hearing aids at that point. It was horrible, and it would just get worse as the movie went on. So it was not some place I wanted to be. But Cheverly and I went to the movies last year. I took my oldest daughter. I still had to sit in the back row, but we went to the adult section, where the chairs recline.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually watched the whole movie, and it was really good. We had popcorn and I got to watch my daughter just really enjoy herself, which I could have sat there and watched that,
of course,
instead of the movie the whole time. But it was one of the Avenger movies.
Oh, yes.
And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I haven't done that in a long time. And then, going to, I can go to Walmart now. I can go to some of the big box stores.
So things that most people take for granted.
Walmart, in my training with Cheverly, those were places they would take me deliberately to the mall in the busiest hour, put me in traffic, with Cheverly in the car with me with the heaviest traffic of the day.
Well, you have plenty of opportunity in this area.
Yeah. And, you have to learn to work with it. And, she's really been good at helping me mitigate and change those behaviors that you become. They're great for, those behaviors are survival behaviors that you emit, and they're good at keeping you alive. But when you're not in a combat situation, they're not the best traits necessarily to be
Sure.
utilizing. And so you kind of have to, she helps you recenter. And at first it was constant. And I was surprised, when I first had her home, we red vested. I talked in the previous episode. If you haven't seen it, watch that previous episode. But I talked about, the black vest and the red vest. Mm-hmm. And a red vest is when we're officially a team. We've passed our public access test together as a handler and as the service dog. And we're out in public, and it's up to me at that point to go out and not be stuck inside my home, in the basement, turning the world off. It's the other way around. You're meant to be going out. You need to go out because she needs to train. She needs to be out and engage in the world, and she wants you to be out there with her, right? And if you don't, then skills are perishable for both you and the service dog. So if you don't get out and start doing things, you both lose that skill set over time. And there are people, it doesn't matter what program, they'll get the dog home and then that's it. They're like, okay, I got through the program, and then they don't do anything. Nothing changes. The whole purpose of it is to get out and start living your life again. So, yeah, there are times I have good days and bad days. There are times where I'm doing really good and I'm not even thinking about it, and then all of a sudden I'll hear something or see something that triggers me, and I either don't pay attention to Cheverly, and she will stop me. I mean, you can't, at least with Cheverly, like I can't get away with anything, right? Like even if I try to fake it, she'll call me out. Yeah, yeah. So, but grocery stores were another big thing. Like just going out to get food, going to a restaurant. I always had to sit in the back. I would find myself going to the restaurant ahead of time to find out where the exits are.
Really?
Going inside, seeing what table I could sit at, like having my back to.
You're kind of doing reconnaissance.
Yeah. Yeah, where if I took my wife and kids, like if something went down, how do I prepare for that? Now I'm okay, just totally. I always walk in. Sometimes I'll still need to have my back to the wall, but I can enjoy dinner out with my wife and kids. And there are some restaurants where I go where I've gone frequently enough that like I really can relax and enjoy the meal. And I go to the grocery store by myself, which sounds stupid, but
no, but it's
you're on high alert, right? Like you're hyper you're on hyper alert when you're not paying attention to it, because that's what kept you alive, right? In the military or in combat zones. And when you come back and you can't shut that off, or you don't even know it's on, it's not the best place to be. And the worst part is you don't know you're there. Right, like that's normal for you, And so she calls me out, and there have been times, even today, like a couple weeks ago, I went to go into Walmart. I was in a good mood, like I wanted to go in, I wanted to do shopping. There were some things I told my wife, don't worry about it, I'll go. I want you to rest, and I just want you to chill, right? Like I know, like your guys' business and you guys work some really long hours, and you deal with, all the traffic, all the challenges that are going on. And so I told her, just relax, let me go, I'll go. And as I was excited to be in there, honestly, I was just gonna go and train with her and pick up the stuff. As I was walking in the front doors, I must have been giving off something, because she stopped 5 feet from the front door and would not budge. And I thought, okay, maybe she's got to go to the bathroom, and I didn't give her enough time. So we went out, and same thing. I came back. She would not let me walk in.
So she'd walk away.
No, she just stopped.
When you got to that?
Yeah, she wouldn't even let me walk in. So then I was like, come on, let's go. Because I was excited to go do this, go just take my time and enjoy grocery shopping, live in the moment. Because I don't always do the grocery shopping. And I was like, I'm going to get some of these, fresh strawberry. And I was thinking like, make a cool afternoon of it with Cheverly. And she would not budge, would not let me. And then she got in front of me, facing me, and alerting, and was like, you're not going in. And I was like, I started getting frustrated, and I wasn't paying attention. So then she started escalating, and she started backing up, like, you're not going in. So it dawned on me, I better do a self-check. And so at that point, like, I took my blood pressure and stuff, and I noticed that it was way high. And I was like, huh.
Because she was sensing something that you didn't even know.
No, I didn't even know. And so I decided I'm just maybe I need to go chill. So I went to Starbucks and had some water and had something, and I waited to see her response. The whole time she was alerting on me at Starbucks, and I'm like, man, I'm checking everything. I'm like, what is going on? It was just my mental state was not there. So I called my wife and I told her what was going on, and I said, I may have to postpone this. So she said, well, why don't you just come home? She said, it's not worth it, right? So I went home, and the whole drive home, it was just like everything was upsetting me. And
now because you're
no, it was just it was just like a light switch, right? And I was like, what has got me? It could have been, maybe I was worried about it. I couldn't tell you sometimes, but she, even in the car, she was just like right in my ear. And she'll, like when I get frustrated when people cut you off or something like that, like I'm really bad about cursing people out, not like violently, but she'll nudge me, like that behavior, man, she gets right behind me and she nudges me in the back of the head, like stop, we're not doing this. And the whole drive home, she was like that, and I'm thinking, what is wrong? So I got home. And as soon as I walk in, both my oldest daughter and Gina were like, yeah, I can feel it from here. And I was like, that was the same response I had. I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, you need to go outside, smoke a cigar, and chill. So I did that. Sunday morning, I went back to Walmart. Cheverly and I went in, had a good time, no problem. It was so weird. And I just learned to trust her, right? Remember I told you earlier, trust is a big issue. And that's very common for a lot of veterans, but So I went in Sunday, no problem. We had a great time. You know, we did a lot of grocery shopping, and it was fun. It was really a time. But there are days where that happens, and I don't know enough to know that it's like you have. At the end of the day, I always have to assume it's me, right? Unless she's picking up on something. But her response was she was looking right at me.
Right.
And then there are days where, like I'm in there and I'm doing well, and then something will happen. Like if I'm in the grocery store, someone drops something, and it's a really loud noise, and it startles me, and all of a sudden I start going like into that scanning mode. She'll stop and she'll start, alerting, and then I can just I take a moment, even if I have to sit down. It looks goofy, right? I just sit down with her, and I'll pet her for a few minutes, or I'll go find a bench and I'll sit down. And when I see her body language, where she'll lay back down, I know I'm good, and I get back up and I go back out and do it. So it really gives you your freedom back, and it's not just being in locations, driving too, right?
Sure.
Like, our areas, the traffic is horrific, and I used to get so angry driving. I know, baby. and I've really, that has changed significant for me, because I get to the point where I don't even want to get in my car. You can go to church, and then 5 minutes after you leave church, someone cuts you off, and they know they did it, and I'm just like, I'm ready to
back to confession.
Yeah, I can't even get down the road. So now I just she reminds me, just like, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. Why are you focused on it? And so, and it used to be where my daughter wouldn't even go with me, because she said it's so tense inside the car. You get so angry so fast, 0 to 100 instantly. And now it's just like, no, I just pet my dog. And it's kind of cool, because I can be sitting in really bad traffic. I have the windows down, jamming to some cool tunes, and Cheverly's just got her head right here licking my face like, hey, I got you, man. Yeah. And it's really opened up some things that I wouldn't do before, and coming out of that pit, we talked about that before, is, it's still a work in progress. I have way more good days than I do bad days. There are times where I need to turn the world off and just sit with her for a while.
I think we all need that. Yeah. It's good to have a companion like that.
There are some big lessons, that Cheverly's taught me over the years that we've been a team. We've been a team for about 6 years now. Is that most of the stuff I don't have any control over, like that goes on around me,
right.
And it sounds so simple. But I think people get wrapped up in the minutia of day-to-day stuff, trying to get schedules, and we forget that every day is really a gift. Because I look back to that time, like when we talked in the first episode or second, about just checking out, and I'm so thankful that I didn't. Now I can look back, like I said, I still have that bullet.
That's amazing.
And my wife won't let me get rid of it. She said that's a reminder of what you could have lost.
Yeah.
What you could have missed out on, and I am. It reminds me every day to be thankful. And when I start getting hyped now, like whether it's traffic or I'm at a grocery store or something, and she alerts on me, she tells me, hey, focus, right? Like this, right? She's real intense stare.
So when you say she alerts, like I know you mentioned it briefly in the first video.
Yeah.
But you said there's like stages.
This is like stage 2 or 3,
right.
Yeah, where when I'm not, like I'm talking to you, right? So I'm kind of ignoring her. So she's giving me that stare of, hey, calm down. Can I have a kiss? Oh, thank you so much.
So like the first thing she'll do is kind of like nudge you a little bit.
And then stage 2 is typically like, and is she'll run her head underneath my arm, and it's rough. It's not a gentle, like she's popping your arm.
She's trying to get your attention.
Yeah. And then after that, then she'll get right in your face like this, like because I'm ignoring her. We're talking, right? And then after that, she'll start barking at me, to get mine and whoever. Like if my wife and kids are in the room, she wants their attention too. And then if you get to the next stage after that, which has only happened to me once, and she did it to me when I was training with her. She will do what they call a stress poop, where she'll just be like, okay. I tried to get your attention. I tried to get you to look at me. I was licking your face. You're still ignoring me. I barked at you. Now I'm going to sit here and take a dump.
Now you're focused on me. Now you got to clean it up.
Yeah. One way or another, you're going to, I know, baby. I know. You don't like talk. I don't like talking about it, but we're here. We're helping other people. And so this is the when I feel like when we're talking about it, right? Like, but I'm in a good place, but she senses something changing, right? And it's not any change, it's specific changes, right? But and then what'll happen is like I'll just calm down, right? Like I'll bring myself back to center, remind myself that whatever it is that is I'm stressing over isn't, most of the time you don't have control over it anyways. And do the things that they teach, the Veterans Administration teaches you to do, calm yourself, a lot of those techniques, and at the end of the day, that just live right here in the moment. I can't fix everything right here, right now, and then what is reality like, right? Like that trash bag outside isn't going to be a bomb, right? I don't have snipers sitting up in the tree. That's probably unrealistic, right? And then as you start kind of coming back down, and then I watch her body language, right? Where she's just going to slowly come down, and then she'll sit back down and she'll lay down. So it's been, I wouldn't change it for the world. I would tell you that having a service dog is not like people think, oh, I got a dog with me all day long, it's really cool. It's tough, man. It is really tough at times, especially when I'm at work, because I'll get people who don't like dogs, people who think you're faking it, because there's a lot of fakers out there. You'll get people who, you're in a meeting, this happens to me all the time, like if in a corporate environment, and other people have issues, especially if I'm in a room full of veterans, all bets are off, man, because she's just overloaded.
An alert, right.
She's alerting on everybody in the room, right? I've had situations where, I've worked in the building and I get people who see her every day, and I'll be in the middle of a meeting, like a web call, and I'll get people knock on the door, and they come in, and they ask to see Cheverly. They're having a horrible day, something really bad, and they sit down with her, and they just start bawling. So then you're like counseling, you're just trying to be accommodating. Sure. And I've even had it where I've sat down with them, and I just let them talk to Cheverly, and you can say no. Right, and sometimes Cheverly will ignore them. Sometimes she'll go up and say hello and give kisses and stuff like that. But then her job is to work for me, right? Like she works with me or helps me. So I can't allow that all the time, because then she'll get in the habit of not wanting to watch me. True. And some people just don't understand that it's not like an emotional support animal, right? She's been through years of training, rigorous training.
She's got a direct purpose.
Yeah, very specific purpose, and it's a two-way street, right? Like we have to watch each other constantly. We're together from the time I wake up, literally till I wake up the next morning. Because even when I go to sleep, she lays with me because I used to have really bad nightmares. Okay. Where I would wake up and I would have bruises on my body from muscle contraction.
Really?
Oh man, huge softball-sized bruises.
Wow.
And so she mitigates those. Like when I would start having those, she would wake me up, right? So I don't really have them too much anymore.
Oh, so she could sense when you were.
Yeah. So she'll start waking me up, and if I don't wake up, she'll wake my wife up, and then my wife wakes me up, right? Since I've had her, they're pretty rare now. Because one of the biggest things you have to, if you remember in the first video we talked about sleep deprivation, right? So when you've got PTS or you're hurting and you're on all these meds and you hurt so bad you can never get comfortable, right? Even just to get an hour of sleep, right? And then when you don't get enough sleep, your body starts shutting down. You're mentally fatigued, and it's a vicious cycle. And it's all connected. The first thing you have to do is, as a vet, when you're dealing with all this, you have to get reasonable sleep, right? And so she mitigates a lot of, it's pretty rare now that I have a bad dream to that level, but I used to get, I'd throw my back out in my sleep from contractions. I'd wake up and have these bruises, like just purple bone bruise that were here from the muscles contracting so hard. And it was horrible. Now, the longer we were together, the more because she lays right next to me, right? And then once I fall asleep, she gets up and she lays on the floor next to me.
Okay.
So if she hears it, she jumps up in the bed and she wakes me up, right? So over the time I've had her, she's picked up on it earlier and earlier and earlier. so that now it's pretty rare. Like I can sleep a whole night. Like I can get 8 hours of sleep.
That's great.
A lot of times. And then when your mind and body's rested, you're in
Sure.
a much better position to handle
100%.
the day. So that's one of the first things that they really focus on. You have to focus on is getting quality sleep but she's helped in that aspect. My relationship with my children is 100-fold what it used to be, and my relationship with my wife is just deeper than it's ever been. There's been some pretty hard challenges for her throughout this whole process, but she's never ever waned from supporting me, and I've been really lucky to have people in the community like yourself and some of the other people in our community who have supported Cheverly and I in our transition. And I know probably when you were helping, you probably didn't have that whole background, right? Because it's not something we typically talk
Sure.
about, but it's been really helpful for us and for my family. And that's, I think too, it's really important that you can't, when there's a family situation, you have to heal that whole entity. You can't just heal the veteran and not the family, because then the family becomes the anchor keeping the veteran from developing or getting better, or the other way around, right? They have to both be equally supported. And I think, like from people like yourself and some of the others in our community, I've been really lucky to get that. And so, the program's been amazing for me. And, I go to my oldest daughters. I didn't go to all of them. I don't want to come across like that, but I can go sit at the high school stadium with Cheverly and I. Everybody knows Cheverly. It's like, Cheverly! Nobody knows my name, but, it's like the service dog with the human attached to it. But we'd go watch my oldest daughter's field hockey games and stuff like that, and I can sit there. Because before, I'd go to watch the sports, when she was younger, and I'm like, there's so much open space here. I'm just like a sitting target. That's what would go through my mind. Whereas I have Chev, and if I'm there and that starts to creep into my mind, she'll immediately pick up on it, and she'll be like, hey, focus on me. And so what it does is over time, that thought process gets, you retrain your brain to you just don't go down that road anymore, right? And not that you're not aware, there's a part of me as a Marine, as a father, you want to have situational awareness,
Sure.
but it's not hypersensitive.
It's not going to overtake you.
Yeah, and so it's a little bit more realistic, right? So it's been great. It's still a work in progress. It probably will be, and I don't. Me personally, I wasn't a big believer in PTSD, and I think they just find out more and more about it as the years go. And that's a whole segment you could talk about for hours. But I would say I don't know if it ever truly goes away, but you can mitigate it, right? You learn to mitigate your behaviors and do more healthy, have a more healthy mindset. Because I think when you have an unhealthy, this is just my view, when you have an unhealthy mindset, you see the world through that lens, and then it just breeds, it's like evil breeds evil kind of thing. So when you've changed that, you start to realize there's so much you've been missing, So it's been really good. It's been amazing. I think the part that I still struggle with, just believing, is every year, those walls come down. They come down more and more. Okay. And I'm able to share more of myself with my wife and my kids, and my kids get a level of love and engagement I never grew up with.
Right.
I never had it like that. And no ma'am, you're not coming up here. Just smiling. So, but it's a whole, at this point forward for me, it's a whole world I never experienced as a kid, right? It's just I've come to realize what's really important to me is my wife, my relationship with her and my kids, not all these other things, right? And that if I need to go in survival mode, right, or defense mode, it's still there. I keep the Marine in my back pocket. And it's not perfect every day. Don't get me wrong. There are times I still struggle with it, but I'm aware of it now.
Right.
And no, ma'am, you know better. It's okay. It's okay. So she's going to be tired today. She's
she's probably getting exhausted. So if obviously you went through the process to kind of wrap this up. I know she's getting hungry. What advice or one piece of advice you'd give if somebody happens to see this video that's maybe struggling with some of the stuff that you've struggled with, and what is the first step, I guess? How would you...
I'm okay. She's like, hey, you smiling. I think one of the best pieces of advice I can give you is reach out. Absolutely reach out. There's so many more resources available. Don't be afraid. When you get in that pit, you feel like you're completely alone and it's dark and nobody understands. I was surprised to find out how many of the other veterans had the exact same situation, almost identical. There's a lot of resources. Reach out, and there are some organizations that are really good at doing, and then there are some organizations that no, ma'am.
Is she telling me that I need to step in?
No. I think at this point she might be starting to get hungry. She's getting frustrated with me. But definitely reach out. And you have to be aware, you have to be cognizant of when you're in the military, your loyalty is, to your team, say for example. But when you're not in the military anymore, your team members and you might still be tight but you have to understand sometimes they might be your worst advocate because they don't want to deal with it either. They don't want to admit it. And don't be afraid to do what you got to do for yourself. If I had still maintained that mentality that I can't talk about it, I shouldn't talk about it, I don't think I'd be here today. There's no doubt in my mind. And I would have missed out on all this great stuff that is going on in my life with
For sure.
Yeah, and if you think you're a good advocate or you think a service dog would be beneficial, because they help with things like mobility, with PTSD. Just understand that it's a pretty serious commitment, right? It's not all fun and games. You do have to train with the dog regularly. You got to spend your time with it. It's not like a one-way relationship, but definitely reach out, man. I have seen guys who have had multiple attempts to end it all, go through this program and come out on top like two different people. And I'm not advocating just pause for vets, which is a sub from pause for people, but a program where that service dog really is going to help meet your needs. Like I said, it's given me most of my life back, and it's not perfect, but like I said, I go to the grocery store, I take care of myself, and when I do have and we haven't talked about this, but there's a lot of freedom that I've gotten back. But I think for me the biggest component is being able to kind of retrain my mind not to be in that fight or flight mode all the time, and then enjoying the things that life brings, the positive things, and there are those that want to be a wounded warrior their whole life. That's just a sad truth. That's what they want to be. That becomes their persona. If that's you, service dog probably isn't for you. But if you want to get better and you want to, be the guy you were before you or gal before you were, and enjoy those things like being time with your kids and your family, and learning to appreciate things and just living your life. It's a good option, man. Especially if you have mobility. Like a lot of veterans get mobility issues. That when my back goes out, I don't have to have my wife or kid at home. Like, she can pick up stuff, she can get stuff for me, she can help me dress and undress.
Really?
Yeah. So you use commands like tug and stuff like that, and she can pick stuff up for me, help me put my clothes on.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so what's actually happened is because I think because I'm in a much better mental place, like I'm in a much better place and I'm way more active than I used to be. When you have a positive mindset, those instances of my back going out and I'm laid up in bed for 2-3 weeks are much fewer. And we try to stay a little bit more active than I was before. Because now I can get out in public, right? Like, I want to be out in public, and I have to get her out. Otherwise her skills don't stay as strong.
Yeah, like my golf game.
Yeah. So I highly recommend it. I think they teach you to live in the moment, right? And not run these fake scenarios that are going through your head, or scenarios that used to be or are not. And I think part of it is we, as veterans, we worry that if we don't stay that way, we'll lose that edge. But you have to look at the reality of where you're at, right? Like, you know, I'm sitting in an office. Do I have to worry about snipers or something, or
Right.
like you did on a bus in Tel Aviv or something like that? Here, no, the odds are pretty low, right?
Right.
So it's and I'm not freaking out about it. So then you focus on what's really important, and once you start going down that road, things start to change for the positive. And you know, I highly encourage it. Get the help you need if you need it. Don't be afraid. It is not always the easiest thing to do, but especially in our community here, you know, like I said, we've got people like yourself, and a lot of the businesses are really big in supporting veterans, and I can, you know, Cheverly and I can never thank you enough for coming out that day and supporting us. And like I said, it changed our whole perspective on how we thought about our community and about people, because it definitely motivated me to start getting out more and to help other people, and how I viewed, you know, that there were actually good people in the world. Because before that day, I still was kind of like, most people are bad people and they'll do the wrong thing given any opportunity. And then we did that event together where we were like milking people for 50. Can you put 50 cents in? You know, but I mean, just to sit, it's still, I'll never forget it, brother. And that was just it was kind of like the boink on the head, like, you know, this guy barely knows you and he's out there, you know, giving blood to get you some money to help pay it forward. And it was just a real eye opener. So I encourage people to do it, and remember that if you've got a family, you've got to heal the family too. And there's a lot of support groups. You know, maybe that's a segue for another time, and
right.
another issue, or not another issue, but another episode for
Sure.
you guys is meeting with, having maybe some guests for that.
Sure.
Some of those support groups or something. But find a good one, stick with it, don't give up, and you know, try to live in the moment, and definitely be your own advocate, right? Like, get the help you need, because like I said, I don't think I'd be here if it wasn't for certain people, for sure.
That's cool. Well, thanks again.
Thanks, brother.
I'll tell you what, man, you are an inspiration. Mike Schwartz, Marine, father, husband, friend,
Chev.
service dog, supporter.
Well,
Thanks for stopping in, everybody. We hope you enjoyed these 3 episodes. Hope it was helpful. It was a little bit eye-opening. If you get the chance to support an organization like Paws for Pets, or if you know someone who's going through some things, reach out to them. You never know how much that can mean to somebody by just saying hello, checking in on them. It can mean the difference for them. So again, Mike, appreciate your time. Cheverly, thank you for your time. You can go eat some food now.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time, everybody.